What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to be talking about Jordan Travis, Florida State quarterback. He's been in the news a little bit and talks of like Devy and fantasy and college football and what can this kid bring. And Florida State is a national championship, contender, I think, at least an ACC contender, national champion, at least a playoff contender if they hit their stride. They really hit their stride last year, down the stretch of the season, winning 7 games in a row and beating Oklahoma in the bowl game. And a big part of that was Travis. So we're going to be looking at, hey, can he win the Heisman maybe? Can he lead Florida State to that, playoff or at least the ACC championship? We're going to be diving into the numbers, looking at the tape, and kind of breaking down what we see from him after the intro. So you know what to do. Hit that like and subscribe button. I'll see you on the other side. All right, let's get into this. This is Jordan Travis, and let's kind of go over and talk about him. So we're gonna go by the numbers. Now, again, I know I get the people yelling at me about PFF, but again, it gives you a framework, right? So when we're thinking of PFF and understanding kind of what we're looking at, here's was his offensive grade last year when Jordan Travis under center, 91.7, extremely efficient. His big time throw, which was really good when we're talking about Drake Maye, who is considered as quarterback 2 in this class, his big time throw is just over 8%, and Travis was right there at 7%. So when you're looking at that overall, you got to be pretty excited about, like, hey, he has that big playability. He looked really good in the season last year, and that's something to look at. Now, only a 1.9% turnover worthy play percentage, so you like that. Didn't make a ton of mistakes, as you see from the board there, 5 interceptions. So he again, when you're looking at him overall as a prospect, I think that's something to know. Not a ton of turnover worthy plays. He did have a few. You watching the Florida tape and some of those other tapes out there, but overall, not bad. 66.5 offensive grade under pressure as well, which doesn't seem great, but when you look at the other quarterbacks in the numbers, it's pretty average, when you're looking at 66, like we talked about, JJ McCarthy before in that 40 range. So overall, not amazing, but also not bad. Like when you look at the numbers, it's look good. And you've seen him. He's been in college football for a while. So this is his 6th year, right? So when we're talking about like what he is as a prospect, you have to take that into account. He's been playing football for a long time. So conceivably, this should be his best year this year in 2023. Last year was his best year in 2022. 3,200 yards. You had that. You see the touchdowns, the interception ratio. You see the rushing upside. So he definitely has that. Now, let's look at the film breakdown. So let's talk about the strengths. When you watch the film and you're going to go through it, out of structure playmaking really stands out for Travis. Like when you watch him play, football, his ability to kind of break out of the pocket, still make plays down the field, but also he has rushing upside, and he's a legitimate runner. Like when he puts his shoulder down, he's going to go get you those extra yards. So he has that, and I really think he does a good job of extending plays when his offensive line breaks down a little bit. He's able to kind of step up. He has really good pocket awareness for a quarterback of his stature. He knows he can feel pressure. Not a ton of times where he gets thrown off of his game because of pressure, right? And I think his rushing upside helps. Now, the other thing you like about his tape is that he doesn't always necessarily just rush out of the pocket to run. He does look to pass. So there is that, right? So he's going to look to pass, kind of look to make those plays. You have to like that about him as a quarterback. So that athleticism, that out of structure playmaking, pocket awareness is all there. And he's got legitimate arm strength. Like he's got arm strength at every level of the field. Now, whether it gets to the spot that he wants, I think that's the biggest question mark when we talk about Travis. But overall, like he's got the arm strength to make the throws that he needs to make on the field to be a successful quarterback. And I think that's something to note when you're talking about Travis overall. Now, weaknesses, so improvement areas that you want to see him improve. So for me, the first thing is his consistent mechanics. And you're going to notice this about his tape. So if you throw on his tape, you're going to see some throws. Those errant throws that he has are where he's throwing back off his back foot. Doesn't get his full body through, doesn't get his rotations through, doesn't get his hips across. And there's times when you're watching him and you're like, why didn't you get through that throw? And sometimes it's not necessarily the pressure that kind of worries him a little bit. I would say like sometimes he steps up to the pocket, he tries to release it too fast. And then that's something to note. Like his consistency and his mechanics is something that he struggles with. And you see that also, like we talked about, he does have good out of structure. So he makes the, plays pretty well outside the pocket. But then when he goes out of structure, sometimes he doesn't get his mechanics sound, and that's when those mistakes happen. He had a couple turnover-worthy throws where he just did not have consistent mechanics outside or inside the pocket, and I think that's something to highlight in some way. We got to see that improvement. Decision making is the other one. Some of the throws that he tries to make, I think he tries to just use his arm strength too much instead of just taking what the defense gives him. And he also tries to make those big plays. We saw that 2 years ago, and that's why a lot questioned him last year. And we saw an improvement, though, right? So 2 years ago, I remember watching him. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is happening with Jordan Travis out here? And in this last year, he did improve that, right? So that's a positive sign. And I'd like to see him improve his accuracy at every level of the field. So if he can get that accuracy dialed in at the short, intermediate, and deep throws, I think you're going to have a much improved quarterback. The nice thing about Travis, though, is we have seen that improvement from him as a quarterback throughout his process, but especially for these last 2 years. Like, there was a lot of question marks. He answered a lot of things. He's very, in terms of like the questions he answered and his ability to kind of step up and be that leader that Florida State needed last year, he definitely hit that out of the park. Now, what are we looking for in 23, right? So what are we looking there? Better decision-making outside the pocket. So let's see how he makes those throws. Let's see how he can actually connect with his receivers and where that's going to go from, right? Improve mechanics. That's the number one. To me, if he's going to be a first-round pick, if he's going to go to that Heisman candidate and he's going to kind of lead Florida State into those areas, he has got to improve his mechanics inside and outside the pocket, because if he doesn't, he's not going to have improved accuracy. He's not going to have good decision-making because he's going to kind of rush things. You're going to see that. And he's going to lose some games. Against LSU, big game that they got, at the beginning of the season, he has to improve his mechanics or they're not going to win that game. And can he lead FSU to an ACC title? Now, I said, playoffs, or how's that look? But they got to win the ACC first. So can they take that next step? Can they go win the ACC, go beat Clemson, do these things that they're going to need to do, North Carolina, those areas of who's going to be in the top, and go get, Florida State back to the promised land? I think that's the question when you're looking at Jordan Travis as a quarterback. He's got to do it. There's a lot of pressure on this Florida State team with the pieces they have returning, with the pieces that are going to be there, especially on the offensive side of the ball. That pressure lands on Travis. Now, when we're looking at what they could have, right? So we're looking at kind of the projected depth chart, and this is from our College Football Manifesto in the Patreon below if you want to take a look. Overall, notable losses. They lost Trayshawn, Malik McClain, not too many, right? They get Trey Benson back, and Trey Benson could be one of the best running backs in college football. This kid is underrated, and people are going to remember who he is after this year. And with him and Travis there, that's a great 1-2 punch in turn of quarterback, running back. Lawrence, very good running back. Rodney Hill is a sleeper running back. They did lose Micah Pittman to the transfer portal, but they got Ja'Kai Douglas. Johnny Wilson is kind of getting talked about, a little bit of buzz out there in the scouting community. Hakeem Williams, true freshman. Darian Williamson. They have some good pieces there. And then you're looking at Kyle Morlock and Jaheim Bell. Like, they have very good tight ends. This is the best offense Florida State has had for years. And you're going to get this coming in with Jordan Travis leading them, right? And when you look at their team tendencies, you're going to see that, passes attempt per game was at 74th. Are we going to see an improvement there, right? I think that their offense could be better in 2023. And if their offense is better, especially down the stretch, if you saw how they won those last 7 games, I think you're looking at, an offense and setup for him to contend and have the best offense in the ACC. I think that's what his ceiling could be, right? Whether he reaches that or not, that's something other things we need to discuss. But overall, that's what his ceiling could be. Now, schedule. LSU is the big game. If they come out and beat LSU again, they're on their way. And then I think you really just look at the first 4 weeks. LSU, they should. That's going to be a brawl because LSU is really good this year. Southern Miss, Boston College, and then Clemson. When you're looking at Southern Miss and Boston College, you'd expect them to win those 2 games. And then Clemson is the big one. If they can beat Clemson early, it really sets them down a path to where you take on Virginia Tech, Syracuse, Duke, Wake Forest, Pittsburgh, Miami, North Alabama, Florida. They should be, on their way to being an ACC, at least in the ACC championship. But those first 4 games tell me, are they going to be 2-2 after those first 4 games? Or are they going to be 3-1 or 4-0? If they're 2-2, it could be a long season for Seminole fans because I think there's an expectation of them not losing those games. And I think they got LSU last year at a time when the LSU was trying to develop a program and Brian Kelly was trying to fix that. And they did win, so I'm not taking anything away from them. LSU is going to be a different beast this year, right? And I think that is the question mark when you're looking at LSU and what that's going to be going forward. So that's the schedule. That's the breakdown. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think that, overall, is Jordan Travis, can he be a Heisman sleeper? What do you expect from that Seminole roster? Do you think that they can go and be ACC champs? Like, how do you feel like that? What about Norvell? How do you guys think he's been doing? Let me know in the comments. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I will check you guys next time.